I think it's twofold. I think academically, there is so much more ownership, and I'll give an example of that. When I started this, I had it all nice and neat laid out in my head what we were going to do. And since then, that is still in place, but there's this whole realm of discovery that they have created their own essential questions. That was not part of the project. We had an essential question. That was not part of it. That they have chosen to research. So they are individually researching that. They want to come up with their own way of displaying this information and getting it out into the community. The project is on homelessness. That was not part of it. The project that I had in my mind was we were going to have this partnership with the Dowd Center for Education at the Homeless Families Foundation. We were going to collaboratively create this guidebook, a kid's guidebook to Columbus, Ohio. But they're very interested in what does homelessness look like in Columbus, Ohio, and why are some of the students there that aren't homeless? Why are they at the Homeless Families Foundation? And it's just opening their eyes. They have very many misconceptions about homelessness and how, you know, so many families are just a paycheck away from being homeless and what that means. And one of my students' essential questions is, how is a homeless child's life different than mine? And it's just opening up. 7th grade, they haven't seen much of the world, and it's opening up. So I think academically there's all of that good stuff happening, but then socially they're getting more social awareness. There already is an impact. They're already having conversations about this. They're already bringing in articles that they are finding on social media about, this is National Homelessness Awareness Month, and their social media has had things on it, and they're printing off articles and bringing them in. And
is this a requirement?
No, that's what I was just going to say. By no requirement, this is on their own. Yes.
The first few days when kids came back, I had them share out. And the first, you know, obviously the first go-to was, oh my gosh, soccer wasn't even a sport. It was only played in Europe. They played, you know, it was more of like the curriculum, the facts. Like they didn't have buses, so they walked to school. You know, so it was the structured questions that we had asked. But then I asked them one feeling or one word to describe it, and the words they said, they were like impactful. They said it made me feel warm and fuzzy, it made me feel good. And I asked them why, you know, because yes, it's to find about change about time, but many of these kids have never had an opportunity to help someone else. You know, it's not in your daily life as a 7-year-old to go out and do service learning. So they said it felt really good because they could tell how much the grandparents appreciated this meal, and the people that we have gone and seen have been so loving and so appreciative, and they let the kids know that, you know, it's so nice to see you come back. This is the first time that my kids are actually getting to partake in the experience. Like, they're the ones delivering the meals, they're the ones handing the meals, they're the ones understanding the importance of it versus just, hey, bring in $5 and we'll donate it to someone in need. They're actually going in and they're seeing, oh my gosh, you know, these people have limited mobility. They really can't leave their home. Like, they are relying on you, and, you know, to put that on a 7-year-old, they don't get to feel that sense of like, oh my gosh, someone's depending on me. Like, without me, they wouldn't have this, and I think that's really impactful for them.
And having them be able to walk away with something besides an essay that they got an A on, but like, you actually impacted someone's life, you made a difference with them, and just, I mean, ideally applying that to situations that aren't even necessarily academic. The whole lesson of being a good person and, you know, doing service for others throughout, I think, needs to be stressed more than it is. And we're in a district where our kids want to know what they get out of it. You know, how does this impact my grade? What do I get? It's not about you. This is about what you're doing for other people, and the you element needs to go away, in my opinion. But from a very young age, kids are taught how to play school, and that's how you do it. You accumulate points, you accumulate your grades, etc. And I think that mentality creates a problem when they get to high school, because all they're focused on is that collection of data rather than becoming that well-rounded student that's more optimal for college campuses and life beyond that also. I've already talked to my kids about the fact that I don't want this to be something where we're out of it at the end of the year. I want this to continue with this, development and whatever. I said, you guys are going to college next year, but you can still help from there. Get your universities involved, and if your universities are in Ohio, I guarantee you're going to be coming home more than you think. Come back, help out.
So it, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming as a teacher, and you're like, well, I wanted to box it into this unit, it needs to end here, but when I think about it, I'm like, boy, we have another service learning thing we're doing later in the year. We do it, and what could we do that maybe could even broaden them even more with this? They could learn something completely different and make it so that, it affects them even more. So when I'm thinking of it, and I'm in the midst of it, so, it is hard because you have so much to get in. And you're like, oh my gosh, this could get out of control. But I think in the long run, this is the most important thing I do.
I've had some guest speakers come in, and guest speakers, they're great because the kids see the outside world, and they're very much in their bubble. So when you bring a guest speaker in, they finally see the larger issues. And one of the classes is doing clean water. And so we had someone from the Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation Office come in, and she really just said to them, hey, we have a problem right here. And the day before, we had someone from Columbus who went to Malawi, Africa to build wells. And they loved that. But then we had this local woman come in, and she said, the problem's right outside. We have a huge issue here. She showed us pictures of Lake Erie and how the water couldn't be used a couple of years ago, and you turn on the tap and nothing came out. And the kids, it really lit a fire under them. And they realized this is national, this is global, but this is outside our door. And I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have shown them the importance of that because I'm just a teacher preaching. And the guest speaker really brought it to them. I think they like coming to class now. I think it creates that buzzword, lifelong learners. They'll always have to research things that interest them. And I don't think they like that word research, but really anytime you look up song lyrics or, look up anything that you're interested in, it's a form of research. So I feel like they're citizens of the world when they come into my classroom, and I'm not telling them that this is important and that's important. And I'm teaching them writing basics, and so they're getting all of that. But when you give it to them, they care more, for sure, and they become active citizens of the planet. I think you're going to see students walk out of your room at the end of the year that are much more self-sufficient. And teachers are always preaching about scaffolding to independence. We want the kids to be self-sufficient.
You can experience something, but that doesn't necessarily change you. It's how you have the kids reflect on that experience, if that makes sense. And so I was looking at all of these different things that I can do with my kids to kind of engage a little bit deeper level thinking for them. And I think that those are things that I plan to incorporate into my teaching, not just for this project, but overall. So I think it really carefully planning that reflection piece and trying to really incorporate it in a meaningful way that's hard to do, but I think that it hopefully can be worthwhile. So I'm going to take more time to make what I do a little bit more meaningful, I guess, instead of just getting the answer I want and move on.
The service learning following the project-based learning model is new to me. It is making me relinquish control that is very hard to relinquish because I don't know where we're going to go with this project, and that makes me nervous as a teacher. That makes me nervous. Just the type A personality, it makes me nervous. But I see that they have more buy-in. And So we're on this journey together, and in fact, in the initial overview, there was a calendar and things like that, and then there was a big disclaimer at the bottom. We may not stick to this depending on what we encounter along the way, and that's hard for me because I'm usually planned 3-4 weeks out, and I can't do that with this, and so it's hard. But I see the benefits of it. This project-based learning. Centered around essential questions and things like that. It's definitely changed my teaching.
I think part of this is you have to let go. You have to let go and let the kids, and that's scary for some teachers. It's a matter of, are we going to teach what we've always taught and blow off the dust of the lesson plans and teach the same books, or are we going to let the kids lead, which really they need to do anyway, because in 20 years they're going to be the community's leaders.
And we're both major planners, so it's hard for us to say, okay, this is my plan, but it might go differently. So we're like, okay, we know it's going to go differently.
We can definitely be flexible. We're good at it. So.
I think for me, being a part of this class has, it makes me remember that, that's not the purpose of our job, is not to make sure they take this test or to make sure, so trying to kind of get away from that and get more to lessons that engage them and that they're excited about, and letting them.
I mean, hopefully this project will take us even further than we can imagine.
Right.
Hopefully the kids will come up with their own ideas, and we'd like to guide them towards a direction, but hopefully it will
build more than what we have kind of laid out.
And the biggest thing for me right now is a change in education is the organization and letting go of control. I like to monitor. This is kind of my thing. I plan, I make it happen, and this is exactly what I love to do, but it's not my project anymore. It never was. And so to be able to step back and just wait for them to do it it's stressful, but it's good stress.
Well, what do you think you're gaining by losing some control?
More positive student involvement, they're more invested in the project than if they're just reading a book that they're reading because curriculum tells me I have to read it. And I've shifted all that stuff into our project. So we're doing an independent read, 3rd and 4th quarter, but they have to read a book on their service learning project. And it all goes on the theme of how far would you go to stand up for someone. But all of my topics deal with standing up for someone and helping, not victims, but people who don't necessarily stand up for themselves. So teaching them that it takes a little bit to step outside of that and make it happen.
Is that new, or have you always done that?
No, that's new. That's another one of those things where I was evaluating, here's what traditionally I've done 3rd and 4th quarter. What I want to do with this project does not fit in that box. What can I do to make it happen? And so it's taking a big step, and the curriculum department is a little resistant, but we're having fun with that.
So the ways that it's impacted my teaching, it's really helped me cut the fat away. I think I'm going to do it again next year. And we're already identifying things we want to do differently.
Right.
The thing I think that I really learned is about the reflection piece. And if they don't have the whole piece of this learning, they're missing the entire part that could make them be a person to change something huge in the world. Not just go out and be a leader, but be a leader for change.
So for me, it's given me the confidence. I know I have this army of people who believe in what I believe in. And that's a big deal when you're teaching in the classroom and your colleagues across the hall are not teaching in the same way that you are. So you have self-doubt and you question yourself and you say, am I doing this right? But when you have this group of people and you know that this class has been taken for years and there's hundreds of people out there who have the same philosophy, you feel validated and you know that this is right for kids.